Hi Cohasset, I'm Selectman Corey Evans. In this video, we're going to buckle up and we're going to dive into a big issue facing this town, which is the Cohasset sewer system and the regional sewer system that is up for proposal right now. I'm hoping to outline all the challenges we have in town, what the options are. That way, when we have to talk about it as a community, everyone has the right information. Let's begin with just an overview of the current sewer system here in Cohasset. Here's a map of the current sewer system. You can see that a good portion of town already has town sewer, including all of northern Cohasset, the Black Ark area, Jerusalem Road, all around Little Harbor, as well as most of the downtown and up the hill towards the schools. This wasn't all done at once. They were done in phases, with the most recent phase being the Little Harbor or the sewer around Little Harbor. So the main areas that don't have sewer are 3A, South Main Street, North Main Street, Beechwood, Ripley Road, and all of Beechwood. Cohasset currently has a sewer treatment plant itself, and it's located off of Elm Street, right downtown, basically right across the street from the police and fire station. You might not have seen it there, but it's there. The plant has a 450,000 gallon per day capacity. We're currently using about 323,000 gallons per day. We also have a municipal agreement with Hull to send up to 80,000 gallons per day of our sewer from our sewer system to theirs. Currently, we're using about 23,000 gallons per day of that 80,000, and it's limited to just one section of Cohasset.
Now, just the very end of Jerusalem Road is going to Hull.
So you may be thinking, great, we have 450,000 gallons of capacity, and we're only using 323,000 gallons. Well, it's a little more complicated than that. Let me start with Brian Joyce from the Cohasset Department of Public Works.
In the permit, there's a threshold of 80% capacity. Once you hit 80% capacity, you're required to do a CWMP. So 80% of the 450 is 360.
To make things more complicated, the permit for our water treatment plant expired in 2012. That doesn't mean we have to turn the plant off, but we do have to get recertified or repermitted with the state. The worry with the repermitting is that our plant is currently releasing a higher level of nitrogen than the state is allowing in other new permits. Again, Brian Joyce.
Currently, the permit we're operating under is 10 parts per million or milligrams per liter. Usually gets stringent, more and more stringent, and limits decrease over time. With the and at a lower limit, we'd probably need to do some plant upgrades.
So our current wastewater treatment plant is kind of at a crunch point where we are going to be above the 80% threshold, requiring us to submit to the state a new plan for sewering, and repermitting may be difficult as well because of reduced thresholds for nitrogen. That would require significant upgrades to our current plant or downrating it so that it has lower capacity. Its physical location also leaves some questions in the fact that it's in a sensitive ecological area, which is a marsh, and it is in the middle of a residential neighborhood without much ability to expand. Our agreement with Hull is also set to expire in a few years. Right now, there are a few areas of town that don't have sewer, where private septic systems are contributing to a pollution problem. And we're seeing elevated levels of certain contaminants in the harbor. Protecting these areas really comes down to adding municipal sewer to these neighborhoods. Private septic systems just aren't able to treat wastewater the way a wastewater treatment plant can. Even the most modern septic systems will still release a good amount of contaminants into the nearby water streams. Here's another map of Cohasset with different areas identified, so you can see different neighborhoods that could get sewer. The highest priority for the town is in the section 1A, which is around 3A. 3A is a commercial district, so we have a lot of commercial buildings that have a lot of wastewater. They're currently on private septic systems, but those systems still release a significant amount of contaminants, and this is where the septic systems are directly contributing to pollution into our water supply. The next area of high priority is South Main Street and kind of includes Border Street across the way, and that is again to protect the water in the harbor. So with a wastewater plant that's already at or above capacity, How do we address these two high priority areas? One option is to add another or secondary water treatment plant. Here's Wayne Sawchuk from the Sewer Commission.
I think we would plan on having a satellite plant in the Beechwood area or someplace like that.
Sure.
That's the
Okay.
reality is if we need that, we would look. And by the way, we've done studies in the past of probable locations for
Okay.
a satellite plant because
Yeah.
what if we have to protect the reservoir, for instance?
Yeah, of course.
We should have sewer up there or other areas.
So there are some draft plans to add a treatment plant on Beechwood. Beechwood has some space. However, building a secondary treatment plant is obviously a big challenge. You need to locate it, you need to build it, which costs a lot of money. And we'll also have to deal with our current treatment plant, even if we build a secondary one. So those are the challenges that we're facing right now. This is where the regional sewer idea kind of comes into play. What does a regional sewer system mean? Basically, right now, Hull, for a variety of reasons, has excess sewer capacity. They have a plant that is too large for their town. And they're looking for partners, local partners, to connect to it. That way they can take advantage of the capacity and reduce their costs to run that plant. Situate, meanwhile, is very aware of the issues they have on Border Street, but their sewer plant is all the way down on the Driftway. So connecting North Situate to Driftway would be very expensive. So they'd like to connect to Hull as well through Cohasset. So a regional system would basically combine the resources of Northern Situate, Cohasset, and Hull to send our sewer to one central location in Hull, where it would be processed ideally at a lesser rate than we could do ourselves. The benefits of a regional system are pretty easy to understand. One, we don't have to, or Cohasset doesn't have to do any of the construction or locating of a new sewer treatment plant. Again, that's money that we don't have to spend, and it's neighborhoods that we don't have to disrupt. It also could be cheaper. Cohasset conducted a very in-depth study, along with Hull and Situate, which looked at the costs of building this regional system versus the costs of building a system on our own. In the scenario where we're connecting most of the town to sewer, especially the high priority areas, it was calculated that connecting to Hull would save the town about $50 million. The overall cost of the project would be about $100 million to connect. But if we did it ourselves, we'd be looking at about $150 million. Both these cost estimates assume that we are going to sewer most of Cohasset. If we choose to prioritize specific areas, the costs may be different, and those are numbers that I'm working to explore. I've reached out to the Sewer Commission to request some of their projected costs for alternative plant locations. I haven't heard back yet. With wastewater, there is an economy of scale. A large wastewater treatment plant can treat wastewater at a lower cost per gallon than a smaller treatment plant can. Another benefit is that it is a more immediate solution, and it doesn't require us to build any new facilities if we want to expand our sewer network even further in the future. As you saw in that earlier clip of the Sewer Commission, there are other places like Beechwood that we'd want to expand to if we need to protect vital town infrastructure like our reservoir. So let's talk about some of the challenges of the regional system. The biggest challenge is administration. Cohasset would be giving up, each community really would be giving up, local control of their sewer system in exchange for a seat at a larger table where we would have a vote on a regional sewer system. Cohasset right now, with its own sewer system, controls its costs, controls where it expands sewer and how it treats, and negotiates with the state on its own. If we went to a regional system, we would lose that control, or at least part of it. We obviously can't have one town controlling the sewer system for all three towns. Cohasset has a sewer crunch, and we are facing a sewer system that is not able to handle more capacity while being pressured to add more capacity. We have an option to expand our sewer system by adding a plant potentially in the Beechwood area, or expanding the plant on Elm Street, or we have the opportunity to partner with Hull so we can take advantage of their systems. That also presents its own challenges. At this point, we are at a bit of a fork in the road. We can decide to continue the discussions, exploring the regional options, or we can break off and no longer consider the regional option. Based on what I know about this and the reading I've done and the talks I've listened to and the studies we've done, I don't think we're at the point yet where we can decide either route. So I am going to publicly state that I believe we should move forward exploring both options as much as possible. One of the things that I ran on and is important to me is long-term decision making. I have young kids in this town, and I plan on being in this town for a long time. So I'm very sensitive to the idea of kicking a problem down the road, because it's a problem that I will have to deal with 5, 6, 10 years down the line. So when I look at this, I want to be sure we make the right call, not just for today, but for 10 or 20 years down the line. And I'm going to be making more videos exploring the different regional options that we have. Obviously, the first option is not to do regional, but if we decide to do a regional plan, there's different versions of that as well. Some of which include sewering most of Cohasset, some of which include only sewering select priority areas. Each of those alternatives has positives and negatives, benefits and drawbacks. Environmental regulations and sewer systems, these are not problems that are going to go away. We are going to have to do something. So we have to decide what it is we want to do and be sure that's the right call for the future. This is something that the whole town needs to decide on because it's going to affect the entire town. It doesn't matter where you live, this is going to affect you. If you're currently on private septic and you'd like to see sewer come down your street, reach out, let me know. I'd love to hear from you. If you're worried about what sewer may do to your street in a negative way, reach out. I'd love to talk to you as well. Send me any of your questions to my official town email address. That's cevans@cohassetma.org. You can also find me on Facebook or Twitter. Send me your questions. I'll do my best to answer them. I also really would love you to tune in and ask any questions you have during the Joint Sewer Commission Select Board meeting. This is the open public forum where we want to hear from you. Thanks for checking in. Thank you for your support. Hope everyone's doing well. Bye-bye.